Good morning everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. So today I wanted to give you all a July backyard garden tour. I just did my front yard garden tour and I did super detailed garden tour. So thank you all for watching that and letting me talk about my plants for over an hour. It was very fun for me. I probably won't go into that much detail for my backyard simply because I haven't been working back here as much this past month as I've been working in my front yard. There are things that I need to do and there are things I'm really excited to get going, but for right now, it's just, it's looking great. That's what I was saying in my front yard garden tour, is that I feel like July is the prime month for my garden. You know, it's hot. We've had hot days, and the plants, they're loving it. The flowers are absolutely loving it, but I also can start seeing signs of heat stress and I can start seeing things kind of get a little tired. So I think I have to enjoy this month while I can, and then probably the next couple months until it starts to cool down a little bit, things are going to kind of start to suffer, but I'm prepared for that. I know that that's how it's going to go, but I'm going to enjoy the garden while I can. So we have had quite a busy past couple days. Not only are we getting our master bathroom remodeled right now, so we're having the contractor here basically every day, and you guys know how that is. He is wonderful. We are so lucky. He is the best contractor. He's very sweet. But you know, it is what it is. The more fun thing that I'm going to tell you guys is I have somebody to introduce you to, and her name is Hermione. She is my daughter's bunny. She is a Holland lot bunny. My daughter's birthday is in about 2 weeks. It's on August 13th, and she is turning 9, and she wanted a bunny for her birthday. And so I've been talking to this breeder that's located about an hour north of us in Oroville, and she had Hermione, and Sadie fell in love, and then she notified us that Hermione was ready this past weekend. So we have a new guest in the house. I think I love the bunny just as much as Sadie does. I had bunnies growing up, so I'm just in love with her. She's so fun. So I'll show you guys a video right now. Sadie's been taking Hermione on walks in the backyard with a little leash. Let me show you the video. She's so cute. Okay, make sure she doesn't eat my flowers, okay? Hi, Hermione. So I don't think I'm gonna let Hermione run free in the backyard, simply because I have too many flowers back here, and when I was planting my flowers, I didn't check to see if they were toxic for bunnies. We have a cat and a dog. The cat's an indoor cat, but the dog does come out here. Stanley really doesn't chew on any plants. He chews on a couple grasses that I don't have out here anymore. So I don't have to worry about I don't plant plants that are super toxic to pets back here where he's going to be, but he really just doesn't chew on them now, as opposed to a bunny that will definitely chew on them. I just don't feel comfortable with it. Plus I don't want her eating my flowers. So Sadie has her leash. She's a very good pet mommy, and she's been taking her for walks. So super cute. I had to introduce you guys. She's just the cutest little thing. All right, so I'm gonna go put her away and we will get started with the backyard garden tour. Okay, so Hermione is put away. She's back in her bunny hutch. She is the cutest little thing. I am in love with her. Here is a little overview of how my backyard is looking right now in July. I think it's looking absolutely gorgeous. I'm super happy with it, specifically this area over here. So I will get to that. Let me get started with my veggie garden though. Okay, so this is my kitchen garden slash veggie garden slash potager garden, whatever you want to call it. I have this wattle fence that I made this. I will link a video down below. I get that asked. I get asked that sometimes, a lot of times when I show this, but yes, I made this. It was super easy and I absolutely am in love with it. I was planning to just have this little space as a temporary veggie garden until I figured out what I wanted to do with the landscaping, but I am enjoying it so much and I love it here that I think this is going to become a little bit more permanent. So yeah, so I'm not a huge veggie gardener, as you guys can see. This past month I cleaned this up. I had a huge zucchini plant here that basically took over this whole area. It was infested with white flies and there was that honeydew stuff absolutely everywhere. I can still see remnants of it on the wattle fence right there. It just needed to come out. And we had gotten so many zucchini off of it. It was the Black Beauty variety and it was fine. I just don't have enough room for that. I'm just so limited on space. I don't have room for a massive zucchini plant. And I kind of knew that putting it in, but I wanted to see if I could kind of squeeze things in, and now I have my answer. So I pulled it out and I just replaced it with a pepper. This is a Marconi sweet pepper that I just got from Lowe's. I think it's the Burpee brand. And then this over here is the Husky Cherry Tomato. And I planted them, I think last week, and they're looking really, really good. I do have my muncher cucumbers that are climbing up this trellis right here. They're doing really well. I have to say they're not very prolific. I've gotten maybe like 10 cucumbers off of these two plants the whole time. So I'm sure I'm doing something wrong. I'm just not totally sure what it is. So I just have to, keep looking into it. Again, this is my first year of a real veggie garden. So I am just happy that things are growing. I'm super happy about it. I have a fairy tale eggplant right over here. These things are just the cutest things ever. They are so sweet. I haven't eaten one yet, so I don't know, but I think they're ready. I don't know exactly the size of maturity, but I know they're supposed to be pretty tiny as eggplants go. So I think you guys gave me so many good recipes, and I think I'm going to take some of those, maybe roast them or something like that. I think that they'll be really good. I have some pesto besto basil from Proven Winners right there. This is their new version, and then they have the other version, which I can't remember the name of it, Amazel basil. I think I like the Amazel basil version better. I think it just tastes a little bit better. The pesto besto is still really, really good, and obviously I'm sure it's better for, sauces and things like that, but I usually eat my basil like on tomatoes, so I do like the Amazel basil version a little bit better. I then have these 3 tomato plants. Again, I grew from seed from Proven Winners. This is the Good Hearted tomato, and you can see how tiny and compact it is. And it has been so prolific. It's been fantastic. So if you're short on space, that's the way to go. This one right here is the Garden Gem tomato. That one's been good. The star of the show, the absolute hands down best one, is this one right here. And this is the Bellini variety. Let me see if I can grab a tomato so you guys can see it. They're called cocktail tomatoes. So you can see they're not that big, but you can see the color of them. They are so delicious, you guys. I will be growing this tomato plant every year because I love these. Jason loved these. My girls love these. They're so good. No, I'll say my girls. Sadie loves these. Shay doesn't love tomatoes. She still won't eat tomatoes, even though we grew these from seed. But this variety is so fantastic. It is an indeterminate variety, so it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. I have pruned on this plant a little bit just to keep it kind of under control, but it's still producing really, really well. So I am super happy with this Bellini variety of tomatoes. I'll put a link to it in the description down below. Okay, then as we come over here, this is the south side of my house, and you cannot see, but I have 3 big white pots right here that I planted up. And I have to tell you guys, I told you guys in my before and now video that they were kind of taking over. So they have Supertunia Mini Vista Pink Star, then they have the Suncredible Sunflowers, and then they also have the Augusta Lavender Heliotrope right here. So they were growing so well, and they were just taking over. I'll show you guys a photo right here, and I'll show you guys taking them over. One day I came out here and I chopped all of them back. I mean, I sheared it absolutely you know, to a couple inches tall. And Jason came out and was like, "What are you doing?" But that's just what you have to do. Once things get a little bit long in the tooth with annuals, I mean, just like perennials, you just have to cut some of them back. And so that's what I did. They are bouncing back beautifully. The Supertunia Mini Vista Pink Star, I'm talking, it was like a week and it looked like this again. It was absolutely incredible. This plant is so fantastic. It just always looks like this. It always just looks like these big balls of pinkness, and I absolutely love them. And you can see the Suncredible sunflowers, they're taking a little bit longer to come back, but they have buds all over them. They're so beautiful. Okay, and then standing a little further back, you guys can see my Barbacarse bougainvillea climbing up the south side of my wall. So, gosh, it's climbing really fast. It kind of flushes in and out of bloom. It definitely gets too much water for bougainvillea. It's still gonna bloom and it's still gonna be really pretty, but I have all of these plants underneath, and that probably was a mistake. I planted all these Evolvulus Blew My Mind XL, and they're very pretty, and I want to leave them there, and so I will leave them there. Here's a pretty view of it, because they're perennials in my zone. So I think that they're going to be so gorgeous like that. But I think that the bougainvillea is getting a little too much water, which is causing it not to bloom as much as I wanted to. That's okay. I think, you know, it will still come in and out of bloom. And then once I get done with the Evolvulus Blew My Mind and I decide to take them out, I bet it'll start blooming even more. So this is kind of like a long-term project that I'm thinking of with this bougainvillea climbing along the back wall. So my plan is to grow it all the way up and grow it all the way around the windows. So basically the whole thing is covered with bougainvillea. I've been at a couple of my patients' houses. I am a home health physical therapist, so I go to different people's houses, and I've seen a couple people have this look on the south side of their house in Davis, and I know it's possible, and it's absolutely incredibly gorgeous. And so it's taken me a while to kind of get this going, but I think it's going to be worth the effort in the long run to have this beautiful masterpiece on the south side of my house, especially next to my pool. I think that that is just so gorgeous. So that's coming. It is a work in progress, and I will definitely keep you guys updated on the progress of it. So this month I've already asked Jason if we can extend we have eye hooks that we put into our stucco, and then we attach wire. So the bougainvillea, it's not I mean, it is a climber, but it won't attach itself. You have to attach the vine to the wire with, you know, I use ties or something like that. So it's just something that we have to do, or it just is like these huge canes that go everywhere. So I do have to train it, and I will get to working on that this month. This pot right here has my hashtag Single Seed Challenge 2022, which is a challenge that is going on over social media, specifically YouTube and Instagram, and it's really fun. Basically, you take one seed, and you start it and you follow it all the way through, you know, from germination to harvest and all that type of thing. And my one seed that I did was the Purple Rain tomato, and I actually just harvested a couple of them. They were okay. They weren't great. They, you know, I think the Bellini tomato was actually better than them. Jason really liked them. We cut them. He had some on his burger. I just had some regular. They were fine. They weren't like a standout. I probably won't grow that next year, but it is cool to know that I grew this from one seed. Actually, I did 2 seeds because the first one got helmet head. But that's okay. 2 seed challenge. I then have my berry barrels. I have my strawberries and I have my blueberries. My strawberries are still producing like crazy. They're absolutely beautiful. Blueberries, they're producing, you know, I've gotten like 5 blueberries off of them. So not as good, but I figure it's first year, so I'll take my time with it, and I'll be patient. And I did put these tomato cages over it, and then put some netting just so that I could make sure it wasn't the birds that were getting the blueberries, and that's why I didn't have a good crop. I think it's just they're just first year blueberries. So no worries about that. I showed you guys my blue barrels, my blue barrel setup, and this is just my rain harvesting system. So the water's gonna come down my gutter, and then it's gonna come through this pipe right here. This pipe I need to tighten so it's not sagging. I had a couple people tell me to tighten it, which I absolutely will. You can hear there's some water in there. Probably just from our test because we haven't had any rain. And then this month I added the faucet, the spigot to it. So basically this project is all set, all ready to go. We just need to wait for some rain. All right, then moving over this way, I am excited to talk about this area of my backyard to you all because I've been really dreaming and thinking about it, and I'm super excited about my plans. So first off, I have my 3 bobo hydrangeas that are looking absolutely beautiful. I just think of these as a mini version of Limelight. I know that they have other differences, but I just love them. I had a couple people ask me what type of lighting this was in because they were scorching, and I'll be honest, mine do scorch, and I know that they're going to scorch over the next month or two, and that's just something that, you know, I'm just going to deal with. I have to deal with in zone 9B with our heat and with hydrangeas. You know, if I could find absolutely perfect lighting and maybe they wouldn't scorch, but then I also think they wouldn't bloom as well. So it's a hard thing, see right there? It's a hard thing to have hydrangeas in zone 9B. We just are so dry and we're so hot and our sun is so strong that you just kind of have to do your best and you have to be prepared that they are going to scorch just the teeniest bit. So far, these bobos are handling it like champs. They are doing really, really well. And this is only really their first real season of growing. So I can't wait for their root system to kind of develop a little bit more. I think that they'll be so much happier, and I just think this is the perfect place for them. I'm always excited when I put a plant in its spot and I know that's the right spot for them. That's where they need to go and that's where they're going to stay. So these bobos are going to stay here. I surrounded them with Supertunia Supertunia Royal Velvet. Royal Velvet, I feel like kind of acts like a Vista. They do really, really well. These get a little too much water, I think, because they get the overspray from the lawn. We've tried to make it so the lawn doesn't overspray, but the shape of the lawn, it just doesn't really work. So they do get overspray, and I think they get just the teeniest bit too much water, but they're still happy and they're still thriving. And I think this is another thing that I'm going to repeat because I really like the purple color underneath the bobos. I think it's beautiful. And all of that right below my garden to tour that I have my clematis just climbing all over it. It's so beautiful. I do have a mandevilla underneath here. I thought it died last year and I ended up just leaving it, but it's actually blooming. It's not doing very well. I don't think it gets enough sun. But what I was trying, here's some buds right here. What I was trying to do is I have this clematis that I think is a Montana clematis. It's really pretty, but it blooms so early in the season. And then the rest of the year it's just these leaves right here. So I was trying to put 2 different things together, the early blooming clematis and then the later blooming mandevilla or mandevilla. I don't know how you say it. The mandevilla just didn't work very well. It's just not thriving well enough. And I think it's a zone 10 and I'm a zone 9B here. So it's just not something that, like, bobos, good plant, gonna stay there. The clematis, great plant, gonna stay there. The mandevilla or villa, not a great plant, not the right spot for it. Same as the southern sword fern. Look at this poor thing. It is fried. And this is just sun. This is just the hot afternoon sun. You can see what it does to ferns. Even our southern sword fern. Oh my goodness, more ants. You guys, I swear, every time I turn on my camera, the ants come out. They're hams. They want to be on camera. Anyway, so here's my southern sword fern. I think I want to move it right over to the other side of the fence to my oak tree garden bed where I have other southern sword ferns and they're supposed to do really well. They're a plant that likes drier, or a fern that likes drier conditions and can handle our heat, but obviously can't handle our sun. And last year we have this beautiful oak tree that last year it came way further over. I mean, it was like down to here. So this whole area had so much more shade last year. We had the tree trimmers come out. Us and our neighbors over there, this is a city tree, but we just the city doesn't prune it. So we just pay for the tree trimming and all that kind of stuff to take care of it. So we had them come out and we had them cut way back, things way back. I asked them to cut it back as far as they could without it looking weird, and they did a great job. I don't think it looks weird at all. I think it actually looks really beautiful, but that means that this garden bed got way more sun than it had last year. So I have two plants that are kind of suffering because of that. One of them is the southern sword fern that was right there, and then another one is this elegantissima dogwood. So this dogwood, I really like it in this spot. I don't want to move it. I think it's so beautiful right next to this Wichita blue juniper. The variegation on it mixed with the blue, mixed with the green of the Hall's japonica honeysuckle. I just think it's the perfect plant for right there. And you can see there's some parts that are doing really well and handling the sun, but then there's others that are getting just a little bit crispy. So I'm going to watch it. I'm going to leave it. I don't think I'm going to move it yet, but I know that it's kind of not super happy. So everybody cross your fingers for me, and let's hope that I can leave that dogwood right there, because I really do think that that's the perfect place for it. All right, so under here I have an osteospermum African daisy. It was huge and I cut it back this month, and I mean, same thing. I did it on the same day that I chopped back all these 3 pots. When I get started with pruning, sometimes I just don't stop. So I cut that way back, and I'm really glad I did, because I think it started giving these sparkling rosé superbena a little bit more sun, and I think that they're a lot happier. Oh, I can see something's chewing on them. I wonder what that is. I'll have to look into that. But yeah, so the sparkling rosé is starting to look really good. This was kind of, I think I put them in April or May. So they're kind of new, they're young, and they only get the hot afternoon sun, but I can see buds everywhere on it. So by cutting back this African daisy, I think I did a really good job with it. I thought I killed it by cutting it back, but it's bouncing back beautifully. I have a summerific hibiscus, a ballet slippers. I shouldn't tell you guys because I'm going to do a video on it, probably. I think I'm going to put it right there, and I think it will be beautiful. Maybe like over here, just off to the side of the tutor a little bit. I think it's the most beautiful thing for it. The plant is very tiny. It's just like in a 4-inch or like a quart pot or something like that. So it's not going to look like much, and I don't even know if it's going to bloom this year just because I'm so late in putting them in, but I just think it's going to be so pretty right there. So I'm really excited about that. I do have 3 boxwoods that I transplanted out here, and they are doing beautifully. I haven't pruned on them yet this year. I probably will prune on them just a little bit this fall because I want them to be spheres. And then I have this purple fountain grass that I transplanted as well at the same time. This one's doing beautifully. I think that one I forgot to put drip to, so that's my fault. And that one's doing really well as well. All right, now on to my shade garden bed or corner garden bed. I'm not totally sure what to call it yet. It has been like a year and I have not known what to do with this garden bed more than that, really. I'm just sitting here. I know I've talked about it on the videos so many times that, and you guys have all given me such good suggestions and I appreciate all of them, but it's just been kind of like, writer's block or planter's block, gardener's block of what I want to plant here. I just didn't really know what I wanted to plant here. And I don't want to spend too much money on hardscaping and different things like that. I know I could put a beautiful water feature back here or like a pondless waterfall, but we just don't have the money for that right now. So I have to find something that's a little bit more budget friendly. And I think I have a really good idea. So I'll just tell you guys real quick, I'll show you guys 2 pictures that I found off Pinterest that are kind of the inspiration photos that kind of got me going. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get climbing roses, and I cannot remember the name of them right now, but I was looking on the David Austin website, and they have, I had no idea, but they have a fabulous search engine where it can say, okay, if you have a north facing wall, what rows will be good for there. So this is a north facing fence right here. And that's part of the issue that I've been having, is that it's very weird lighting. You know, it's not totally shade. It's actually technically full sun, but it gets enough shade that some plants aren't very happy, you know, and it's kind of confusing. So when I saw that search option on the David Austin website, I was so excited. So for a north facing wall, one of the climbing roses, I'll put a picture of it right here. I wanted to say it's like Claire Austin or something like that. But it's this beautiful climbing rose that I'm planning to put all back here. And I'm going to make a white kind of lattice diamonds to continue with the diamond theme that I have going on with all of my espaliers, but I'm going to do it with white pieces of wood, and they're going to be kind of big. So it kind of mimics this picture. I'll show you right here, and I'll zoom in on the part that I was just like, oh my goodness, that's so beautiful. And I think what that's going to do is that's going to bring in the white of this tutor right here, and then I'm going to go over this way. You can't even see it, but I have 3 white pots right there covered with flowers at this point, but they are 3 white pots. So, excuse me, I think that the white diamonds are going to mimic that, and that's going to bring a little bit of brightness into this area. And then I will have those climbing roses on it. Oh, I just think it's going to be beautiful. Then after that, I've decided I am going to have a bench here, but I want it to be a white bench. And then on either side, I'm going to have Limelight hydrangea standards in pots. And I'll show you the picture that gave me that idea, and I'll show you a little bit closer zoom in shot of there. And that's kind of where I get a lot of my ideas, is that I'll kind of just be searching through Pinterest, and then I'll find a picture, and I'll just find one little spot of the picture, and it'll be like, oh, light bulb, that's it. That's what I want. So I have a plan. I can't get the roses until I'm on the wait list for the roses. So I have to kind of be patient and wait for those. But I'm just so happy that I have a plan for this area now. And now I just have to kind of start implementing it and working on it. So I think this is going to be my big project this fall, and I'm so excited about it. So I love this garden bed. I think it is absolutely gorgeous and absolutely beautiful. I love my plan for this garden bed. I think it's going to extend this whole feel all the way through this way. And then I love this garden bed right over here. So I am stoked, because I feel like once I get this area done how I like it, I'm going to love this whole vista in my backyard. These whole, the north fence and then the west facing fence. I think it's going to be so gorgeous. I'm so excited about it. All right, so moving on to this garden bed that I love. You can't see, but I have 3 really beautiful white pots underneath all these gorgeous flowers. So right here is my sparkling amethyst superbena. I talk about this plant all the time. I love this plant. This is a fabulous plant. I mean, I highly, highly recommend this for you guys. It's from Proven Winners, and it just thrives. This one is actually from last year. It wintered over perfectly fine in the pot for me, and it came back. I have cut it back a couple times. I do fertilize it once a week, and it's just the perfect plant. I just absolutely love it. Right behind here in this pot with my juniper spiral, I have these Supertunia blue skies that are looking gorgeous. I just bought another one for the front yard, and it gets a little bit more hot afternoon sun, and I'm noticing a difference in the color. And I do think that Supertunia blue skies does better in a little bit more shade, which is really interesting, because most Supertunias do better in more sun. The more sun, the better, I feel like, at least for me. But the blue skies, I like the color better in the shade. I think it's so much prettier. I think it's so much more iridescent vibrant. I just love it. So, I mean, awesome, because it's always nice to have plants that have lots of color in more shade, and this is definitely one of them. And then finally in this pot here, I have a mixture of my Supertunia Snowdrift, Supertunia Vista Snowdrift, and then also my Supertunia Royal Velvet in here. And you can see what's happening. It's starting to get a little leggy. It's starting, you know, it's so heavy. There are so many blooms going on down here that the weight of it is starting to pull it down. So what I'm planning to do is I'm planning to trim all of these back, just like I did in those 3 white pots over there. They will bounce back. I'll fertilize it right after I cut it back, and they will bounce back very quickly. I'm also planning to do that on a couple other pots over here. I'll show you guys that in a bit. Okay, so you can see on this trellis, I have more of the Halls Japonica honeysuckle. It's looking absolutely beautiful, and it frames my Limelight hydrangeas. It's so funny because this one and one of the other ones over there, they're actually starting to bloom again. They're going through another flush of blooms, which is amazing because the heat is making the smell so wonderful. So I just absolutely love this plant. Look at this. So excited about that. So I have more of the Limelights right here. Let me back up and give you guys a little bit better view. And this is one of the main things we see outside all of our main windows, like my master bedroom window, our living room window, and then our kitchen window looking in the backyard. This is what we see. And I really think it's important that take the time to really make, when you look out the window, the main windows you look out, make sure you plant something absolutely beautiful. So it probably took me as long as I thought about this garden bed right here to think about what I wanted to do in this garden bed. But once I put it in and once I had the right thing in there, it was just like, I knew, you know when it's the right thing. And I don't think I'll ever take these Limelights out. I don't think I'll ever take this honeysuckle out. I don't think I'll ever move those 3 white pots. I think it's just the perfect thing right here. I do want to add something right here, and I'm not sure what it is I want to do. It's funny because I use this area functionally. I use it to kind of like store plants and things like that, but I want to do something so it's, see how that side kind of goes up and then it goes over and then it just stops right here. I want it to look like it's going to go up that side, over, and then it kind of gently comes down right here. So I don't know if I want to do another 3 pots, but I definitely want to do a little something right there to kind of like soften the line, if that makes sense. Okay, so turning this way towards my greenhouse, there's nothing to show you in my greenhouse because it's too hot in here. I'm just using it for storage now at this point. I've taken a couple of my birdhouses down because they have plenty of food, but I will obviously use this once it gets cooler. I use it all winter long. I just don't need it as much during the summer, which is why I pushed it over this way, and then I put in these 2 stock tank planters right here, and I decided to plant them up as my pollinator gardens, and they're doing okay. They're not doing great. I had a bunch of perennials from Proven Winners that were sent to me, and that was very sweet. Some of them are doing all right. Like here's the Monarda doing really, like I have 1 bloom. It's called Upscale Red Velvet. I think these plants that were sent to me were just really young plants, and so they're not really blooming that well. This meant to be Queen Nectarine. It's, you know, it's just not the happiest right here. These are harsh conditions that I put them in. So I think I'll probably have to move them into other areas of my garden. I'll probably do that in the fall. But I knew I was putting these guys, you know, really through its paces. I do have an echinacea right here, kind of same thing. I have to deadhead this, so ignore that. But it's just looking so-so at this point, as opposed to this one over here that's looking fantastic. Look at my milkweed, you guys. Look at it. Oh, I'm so proud of this plant. I'm so excited about it. Okay, so this is a milkweed that I grew from seed, and I was having so much difficulty growing milkweed from seed. They just kept dying and they kept not doing very well. Like, look at this one. It's just doing okay. It's definitely growing, but it's just doing okay. But this is one that survived, and it's doing really, really well. You know, I just noticed I have bugs on them. What is that? It looks like aphids. I'm going to research that and I'll take care of it. If any of you know what that is, let me know. I'm not spraying anything in this garden bed because I'm trying to protect it for the pollinators, but I'm paying very close attention to it. So I have the Mystic Spires salvia right here that's doing really well. There's bees on it all the time, gomphrena, and then I also have these pretty sunflowers. These are the, gosh, what is it? I always forget the name. Picasso something. I'll put the name on the screen right here, but these are from Sunflower Steve. I paid way too much for these seeds just because I was anxious to get them. So I'm excited to see how they do blooming. I just have to be patient with those. But my milkweed, that's the big thing. So proud of this guy. Okay, so when I started doing these garden tours, I committed to myself that I was going to show you all the good and the bad of these garden tours, of my gardens at the time. I wasn't going to hold anything back, and I was going to show you if something looked absolutely horrible. Okay, so here's something that looks absolutely horrible. So first of all, we have all this junk here from the construction. Look at this, you guys. Look at my espalier. So this is my honeysuckle espalier that's on the side of my house. It's in my narrow side yard. It was kind of taken over, right? This is one of those things, those projects that you have to kind of maintain, and you have to keep pruning it and making sure it doesn't get out of control. And what happens with honeysuckle, the choice of using honeysuckle, is that it will just keep growing on itself. So underneath, the twigs or the branches will die underneath, and you'll get a lot of dead under, and then you'll have all the new growth on top. So what was happening is, as it was growing, it was expanding out further and further, and it was getting to the point where I felt like I could barely walk through here, and I couldn't get my wheelbarrow through here. So one day I came out and I decided, okay, I was going to prune this, and I was going to prune this hard, and I was going to kind of let it flush back from the beginning, right? And I was going to be okay with it. And I felt like it was the right time to do it. I probably should have waited, or I probably should do it in spring, honestly, but I just wanted to do it. So you can see how hard I cut these poor guys back. I mean, I basically butchered them. And, for a minute I thought, oh no, I think I killed it. I think I'm gonna have to start all the way fresh, but I'm seeing new growth on it, and it's gonna be so pretty once all the new growth comes out. So you can see little sprouts coming out all over the place. So I feel like in very short amount of time, here's some new sprouts, very short amount of time, it's going to flush back, and it's going to be a lot more controlled and a lot thinner. And I'm going to be thanking myself that I did this, right? So I think that's just kind of part of it. When you are controlling Mother Nature so much, like I'm controlling Mother Nature here with making espaliers out of the honeysuckle and the ivy and all that kind of stuff, you have to be okay with it, or I should say, I have to be okay with it not looking fantastic all the time, because it just can't. You kind of have to work with it, and if it's time for it to be cut back, then you got to cut it back. So I felt like it was time for it to be cut back at that time. This is what I'm dealing with. Unfortunately, this is what I look out with the kitchen window. It looks like this right now, but I feel like it'll bounce back very quickly. So I wanted to show you all my beautiful masterpiece of my honeysuckle espalier right now. And honestly, that is what the window box looks like as well. I figured, since I just chopped to an inch of its life the honeysuckle, I might as well prune back the salvia that I have here growing in my window box. The Helen von Stein Lamsier still looks really, really good, but the blooms on the salvia were kind of faded, and so I did the mid-season shear back, and I can already see babies on it as well. So yeah, my side yard, not looking so hot right now, but I did want to show you all so you could see what it would look like, and hopefully by next month it looks a little bit better. All right, so back to a little bit more pretty things, I'll say. Things that are looking a little bit better than that honeysuckle over there. Here are my pots. These are all my annual pots. I got all these flowers from Proven Winners. They are looking gorgeous. The sun is a little bit strong right now, so hopefully you guys can see. Hopefully it's not too bright. But they're just looking so pretty. They're so beautiful and I'm enjoying them so much. I have to say this little yellow mixture, it's a take off the lemonade stand recipe. It's by far my favorite, absolutely my favorite. I never thought I would enjoy yellow flowers so much, but just the mix of this lantana with the Supertunia limoncello is just incredible. I absolutely love it. I want to repeat it. I think it's beautiful. Now, let me show you guys over here, just like over on the other side of my yard where I am going to cut back the Supertunia Vista Whiteout over there, or not whiteout, that's the Supertunia Vista Snowdrift. I'm going to cut that back because it's starting to get a little heavy and a little leggy. The same thing is happening with this pot right here. And it's not a big deal. It's what happens with these Supertunias. You just need to give them a little bit of a haircut at this point in the season. So it's just basically so thick and so heavy with blooms all the way down to the bottom that it starts pulling all the plants down, and it's just making some gaps right here. You guys can see my Super Bells yellow. This one is definitely not keeping up with the other two. So maybe once what I'm planning to do is I'm just planning to shear it back and it'll and fertilize it. It will bounce back within a week or two, and maybe that will give the chance for the Super Bells a chance to kind of catch up a little bit. So yeah, so I wanted to do this garden tour before I did that because I'm going to be without blooms for about a week or two, but I don't care because it just makes such a difference. I mean, over there, my 3 big white pots with the Supertunia Mini Vista Pink Star, it just like rejuvenates them and makes it so much better, and they're going to be so much happier as the season goes on. So I will be doing that over the next couple days. Then over here, I have my Sunstar Pink Pentas, and I have to say I was a little worried about this plant. I felt like it wasn't performing as well as I wanted it to. It's supposed to be a like a replacement for you know, the mop head hydrangeas in really hot areas, and it wasn't doing much. I wasn't too impressed. And then as we got hotter and hotter and hotter, it was like, oh, okay, I get it now. I get why it's such a great plant. So it's really, really beautiful. These other 2 plants are taking over. So it's not even showing how well it's doing. I think next year I'm going to get this as well and put it somewhere else, like by itself. Maybe do a trio of them in a pot. I think that will be so pretty. But there's blooms or buds everywhere. It just needed heat. It just needed the heat. So I bet those of you in the South, I bet you this will be a fabulous plant for you guys because you don't get cold at night. I bet it'll be so happy. So yeah, I'm really liking this plant. I'm definitely going to repeat it next year for sure. I have my James Britannia, my Safari Sky, doing fabulous. It just hasn't stopped. This plant just has not stopped going. It always is in some sort of bloom. The pollinators love it. It's just gorgeous. Nothing compared to this unplugged pink salvia. Holy cow, you guys. The hummingbirds are on this plant constantly. I can hear them yelling at me right now and chirping at me because I'm too close to them right at this point, and they want to come drink their nectar. You can see the bees are on it as well, but the hummingbirds, I mean, this is such a hummingbird magnet plant. There, did you guys hear the hummingbirds? I don't know if you can hear them. They're mad at me right now. because I'm too close to it. So I have that same pot repeated over here. Here's the James Britannia Safari Sky and the unplugged pink. I have sheared the unplugged pink back once this season, so it was without blooms for about a week, but then they just came right back. I'll probably do it one more time and see if I can get a 3rd flush of blooms, you know, but we'll kind of see. I have this pot right here. If you guys can tell, this is one pot. This is the vintage wine basket. So I have these Superbena Violet Ice, I think. I have the Supertunia Bordeaux that's absolutely gorgeous. And then I have this High Noon Euryops that I'm just not loving. It's just, I have to keep coming back here and deadheading it. It's just not working very well for me. So I think, I don't know if it's too hot and it's just causing them to fry. I like that pop of yellow right there, but it's just not performing, at least in my area as well. I've heard that it performs in the Midwest absolutely beautifully gorgeous. Just here, it's just not doing much. And then the third pot I have right here is Chocolate Drop Coleus and Supertunia Royal Velvet. And you can see which one's taking over. The Chocolate Drop Coleus. You can't even see the Supertunia Royal Velvet. So it's basically a pot of Chocolate Drop Coleus, and that's totally fine. I am happy with it. One more thing I want to show you all. Look at this cute pot. My daughter Shay and her friend made it for me for the channel so I can plant it up, and so I told them I would show you all in a video. They're 7 and I love that age. It's so cute. So yes, this is for all of you. They made this for all of you. All right, so that is about it for my July backyard garden tour. I have to say, I think the garden is in its prime. This is when all the flowers are just blooming their little heads off. They're loving life. I know it's gonna start getting hot and it's gonna start scorching everything, and I'm prepared for that. I'm okay with that. Just like I'm okay with my honeysuckle on my side yard not looking fantastic at this point, and I'm even okay with showing you all because I'm accepting the fact that it's a transition time. It's a period of, you know, working on things and getting things to be where they need to be, and that's part of gardening. Not everything in your garden is going to look perfect all the time, and as a new gardener, I wish I had seen that. And so if there's any of you new gardeners watching this right now, just remember that your garden is not going to look perfect all the time, and that's okay. It's part of the journey. So I hope you all enjoyed this. Thank you again so much for watching, and I hope you all have a chance to get into your garden today.